Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take the opportunity to call the September Planning Commission to order. If we can have roll call, please.
Dana Camp.
Here.
Nanette Reese.
Here.
Vanessa Eccles.
Here.
Jennifer Lover.
Here.
Joseph Astrup.
Here.
Phil Chancellor.
Here.
Jennifer Stevens.
Here.
Oscar Mosley.
Here.
Walker Davis.
Here.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have citizens communication. If you'd like to come and speak before us on anything that is not on tonight's agenda, please come forward now. We rarely have people come for citizens, but yes, please sign in. And you can do it after you speak, and then 5 minutes if we.
5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I lower this a little bit, or is it?
Sure, please, because I can't see out there.
Okay. Nervous. Is there a clock?
On the top right. There we go.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Clock's ticking. Good evening, commission members. My name is Jojo Van Horn, and I just want to share some comments, reiterate some comments I shared with City Council last week. So my apologies in advance for the city employees for whose it's redundant. But really more than anything, I want to express my gratitude for the work that y'all do for our community. I'm sure it's a thankless job with a lot of behind-the-scenes work that I don't know a fraction of what you do. So thank you first and foremost. My wife and I live outside of the city limits on the Waverly side of town, kind of halfway between Pear Tree and Waverly. We moved here 3 years ago after spending some time during COVID at Lake Martin, and it was during that time that we really, for the first time, started to frequent the Auburn Opelika community and really fell in love with everything we found here. And so when we realized that we can buy a modest house on some land and just be 15 minutes from kind of the downtown core, but have some peace and tranquility out in the country, we jumped on the opportunity in 2022, and since then we haven't regretted it one bit, which somewhat brings me to why I'm here before you today. So as you can imagine, we were a bit surprised last month when we found that a large timber tract bordering us, about 800 acres, which is owned by an investment company out of Atlanta, was in the beginning phases of working with some developers out of Nashville to do kind of a urban, rural style, what I would call high density, mixed use development that would be outside of the city limits, but within the planning jurisdiction of the city based on my understanding of how all that works, which is just in the last month or so I've learned how all that works. And so some neighbors and I were concerned, and while I'm a proud supporter of development rights and free markets and all those good things, I also think there's a time and a place for everything. And my limited understanding of development on that side of town that's already been improved inside the city limits, something of this nature that's outside of the city limits without access to sewer, police jurisdiction, fire jurisdiction, city schools, could be potentially problematic on a dirt road. So some neighbors and I started to figure out like what could we do, and so I'm the one that had some interest and motivation and some time to educate myself. So in the last 2 months, this is the second planning commission meeting I've been to. I've been to 2 city council meetings. I've been to 3 county commission meetings, met with a handful of folks, and it's really during that time I've been nothing but impressed with what I've observed and the caliber of folks, the professionalism, the generosity of time, and honestly, what I've, like a lot of spirited debate. You know, I've been up here just in my short amount of time, and I've seen hard questions being asked. I've heard thoughtful answers being given. I've seen split votes on things. I realized I'd be terrible at this job because I try to make everyone happy, and it's like there's no way everyone's going to be happy in a lot of these situations. And so I don't envy the work you're doing, but I appreciate it, and I just want to express that appreciation and petition you, as I'm sure you already do, to keep the best interests of the local residents and members of this community who have a long-term vested interest in the community at the forefront of your decision-making if and when this plat gets before you for approval, as opposed to the interest of maybe folks from out of town that are trying to profit. And I understand it's complicated, and I know the system isn't perfect. Perfection isn't the goal. Hopefully, it's just the commitment to slow, steady progress, working together, making improvements where they're needed, while also protecting some of the elements that we love and want to maintain of our community. So thank you for the work you're doing. Keep it up. Thank you for hearing a voice of a new guy like me to town. And if they continue to make progress, I'm sure you'll hear from myself and neighbors down the road when the time is right. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in citizens' communication? Seeing no one, we will close citizens' communication and move to old business. Is there a, you're doing that? Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. So Hickory Creek LLD, you guys will remember that last time that there were 4 items on the agenda associated with Hickory Creek. There was the annexation, and then there was the 2 rezonings and the conditional use requests. The annexation was approved by you all, and the rezoning, the double rezonings, and the conditional use were tabled because the development agreement was not in place. In between the last meeting and this meeting, there's been significant progress on the development agreement. Staff feels good about where we are with the development agreement, and that this can now move forward for a decision from the Planning Commission. I guess I'm happy to give you guys a refresher of the project, but my recommendation to y'all would be to reopen the public hearing, have the applicant give a presentation, a kind of overview of the entire thing, and then we can kind of circle back. You guys can ask questions of staff. You guys can also ask questions of the applicant, and then also let the public speak during the public hearing as well.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I will open the public hearing for Hickory Creek LDD at this time.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you all so much for having me today. I'm excited to kind of explain all of the nuance of this project. My name is Hayes Eifert. I'm with Sanford Group, and I'm kind of excited to dive in here. So let's see if I can get this to work. Do we have to change?
Not
Yes,
yet.
that'd be great. Okay, we're good to go? Perfect, thank y'all so much. So like I said, I'm Hayes Eifert with Sanford Group. I'm gonna kind of start off by just explaining this area of town. I think we did that in the last planning commission, but I think it's a good refresher to just run through it. So this area generally does have rural character, I'd say, especially once you cross Chewacca Creek. And the good news to that is, as someone who looks at these developments, and I've done a lot of work on Sand Hill Road as well, the natural configuration of the land over there doesn't really allow for much more dense development past this point. So Chewacca Creek really serves as a great dividing line. It's going to be nearly impossible, especially without city input, to get sewer past Chewacca Creek. So we have a really natural boundary to development there, and I think that's important because I do think it's important to preserve the rural area out there. But additionally, on the west side of Chewacca Creek, we do see that there is a lot more density. And so I just wanted to point out in the immediately adjacent area to the property, to the southwest, we have CDD zoning. That's the greens that we're adjacent to. It's got 6.7 dwelling units an acre. To the north, we have 2 properties across Sand Hill Road. So we have Parkerson Mill subdivision, which is zoned LDD, and currently it has 2.1 units an acre in its existing state. And then the other property over there is NC9, which kind of by right, and then once you lay out NC9, you end up with a density around 4.8 units per acre. Our goal here with this property is to really, if you zoom out and look everywhere south of 85 on this side of town, there is a severe lack of commercial infrastructure over there. There's not a coffee shop to go meet someone at. There's not a small general store. There's just an absence of those things south of 85. And so as someone, I'm actually moving on Sand Hill Road right here. This is something that could be very desirable to have on this area of town in a very tasteful way. And what we're going for with the commercial aspects of this project, which I'll get to in a minute, is destination-like commercial. And so that's a nuance. We're not putting gas stations in or big box stores or anything like that. This is going to be more thinking the line of Botanic, kind of what Waverly downtown has done with Wildflower, those kind of things that we've already seen work really well in Lee County. And specifically, it would be great to have them in the city of Auburn. Maybe. Oh, no. No, it's lagging. Hold on. Okay. I'm back in control. Okay, so I just want to run through the amenities in this development really quick. So we're really trying to go for, yes, we have smaller lots here. The goal is trade-off for those smaller lots would be a much higher quality amenity package to where individuals can actually experience the wooded areas that are being preserved, and we're not just getting big clumps of unused space. Like, how do we integrate the people in the development to where they can use the green space that's being given to them? So, community garden at the entrance, a dog park, kind of a pedestrian thoroughfare through the center of it. We'll have a basketball court and then a central playground, as well as the commercial areas. So these are just some renderings of kind of the vision of what these things will look like inside the development. Also, as a part of this PDD, we're proposing to dedicate 32 acres of this site to the city of Auburn, primarily for the access to the two main creeks that form the boundary on this site, which are Chewacla Creek and Parkerson Mill Creek. This is some of the best section of Chewacla Creek in the city of Auburn. And I literally drove by there today, and there was cars parked and people trespassing down there, yes, but enjoying the creek. And this is a great opportunity to make this more accessible, not only here, but even further north by the Greenway that we've started conversations with the city that this creates a possibility for. So should this development be approved, we also developed Arborwood subdivision, and then we didn't develop Bridle Creek, but in between this and Arborwoods, easements have already been dedicated. This opens the door for the city to really bring in a significant greenway along arguably one of our best natural resources in the city of Auburn that's really only accessible right now through Chewacla State Park. This also would create just really great pedestrian opportunities, really great biking opportunities, and it's very much in line with language from the 2030 comp plan stating the city's goal is to provide a more walkable city with a walkable downtown, sidewalks and streets that are safe for pedestrians, and greenways that connect everyday destinations and provide opportunities for interactions between people. That is very at the core of what this development is, and we believe that this is a great opportunity for the city of Auburn to continue to make it an even better place to live, not just for the people in this development, but really connect this area. There are over 2,000 homes within a mile and a half of this area that don't have access to things like this that people who live downtown can enjoy. And so I just think that should be noted that is a big opportunity here for the city. These are just a couple more renderings. That's actually a picture of Chewacla Creek on our site on the top left with a rendering of what the greenway would look like. So it's not just a made-up image altogether. So these are from photos on site. This is the commercial area. It could tweak slightly, but generally this is what we're looking for. Neighborhood grocer, quick service restaurant, small event space, office space, and then small outdoor area, and then some pickleball amenity area as well. We really want this to be an interchange between the vehicular traffic and the pedestrian traffic. So think of a hub for people that can enjoy this area. Like, you can't just throw a greenway down in the middle of the woods. We have to have a way for people to access it who both live in the development and do not live in the development. And so that's the goal of this commercial area, to really serve as that destination commercial and a hub for people who are going to enjoy the greenway and even traverse down from Mims Trail and those other areas to use these amenities. These are just some renderings. I'm going to skip the sewer because I have 10 seconds. Typical lots on the site. It's all in your PDD letter. We have, am I on a timer?
Yeah. So I guess kind of this was something that was recently changed, just kind of at the council level, and so we've kind of been modeling that. But I guess it's kind of weird since Hayes went first. But if you guys have questions that you guys would like him to kind of explain more, he'd be free to do that. You guys would have to close the public hearing afterwards. So he can come back up and talk, but it would just be kind of in a question and answering afterwards for the applicant. So I would say let other people from the members of the public who would like to speak, let them speak, and then ask Hayes questions.
I got through most of it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing for Hickory Creek LDD is still open. If you have anything you'd like to come forward and speak about that agenda item, please do so. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. And commissioners, if you have questions for staff or applicant.
Yeah, and so I guess kind of to my point, just kind of what we decided, or what was decided, just kind of at the council level. There's specific aspects of Hayes' presentation that you guys want more clarity on, that you guys want him to expand upon, you guys want him to expand upon. You guys are free to ask him those questions, and he's free to go into detail outside of the clock now, since it's a question and answering situation.
ask some questions
To the applicant.
to the applicant.
Please come forward. Okay.
Okay, I'll ask a couple of them to start with. Is the commercial that you have there, is that, I don't know, the word that comes to mind is landlocked, but is the only access to that is driving through the development?
Yes, so
There's no other-
that's a great question. That is a little bit unique about this project. And so typically in the planning theory world, if you let me go that way for a second, is, you want to be on the main corridor because you're looking for traffic
Right.
counts, especially when you're looking at heavy commercial, right? We want to be on main corridors. We want people to drive by Starbucks so more people can get a coffee. That's, again, not what we're going for here. We're really looking for an interchange between the vehicular traffic of Auburn, give them a place where they have a hub to enjoy this natural resource. So the places where you would typically, if you think about pedestrian sheds, is kind of the language. If your pedestrian shed needs a center, and so that center could be along an intersection where you have the highest traffic counts, or it could be around a unique natural resource. And so in this case, we would say our pedestrian shed is aligning with this natural resource, this hub area, to where people have access to these future greenway.
So
trails.
you're suggesting that the traffic, if you will, is not just the neighborhood, which is what's
Correct.
closest to it, or people are gonna walk to it?
So it
I
will.
mean, that's
Or they're
the,
biking or
They're biking.
kayaking or on a
okay,
waterway.
okay, all right, I'll buy that.
And the traffic would be, that traffic is included in our traffic study for all the traffic improvements
Okay.
that we're proposing.
You talked about, so a big part of this is some sort of greenway access or whatever. So what's that gonna look like? I mean, are you suggesting that you're gonna connect your development to Chihuahua Park on a greenway?
We have,
and develop
Justice
it.
could maybe chime in a little bit here from the city's perspective. We've had some conversations about this over the last year.
Yeah, so if you can go, I guess that's probably in Hayes' presentation, but I guess if you just want to go to that slide, I can
back.
kind of talk through it.
And is there some sort of, as I understand it, the greenway plan has been
All right.
Right there.
desperate
Get ready.
need.
Yeah, so like Hayes mentioned, there are several developments where they've already dedicated easements, and it's been one of the things that we've kind of been looking at the city of. We have a collection of a lot of these easements, these greenway easements that have been dedicated for this specific purpose. This chunk that's just kind of at the confluence of two creeks, and just kind of with I guess just kind of the happenstance of Hayes has done development down here. This would connect from this portion of this development all the way up to Chihuahua. We've had conversations with Chihuahua State Park about it and talking to their park manager just kind of about how it would function. We haven't ironed out those details yet. That's something we're waiting for feedback from them, but we've had a meeting with them about it. We've met about this several times of just kind of, in theory, this is something that makes sense. I think from an execution standpoint, I think that's what we need to iron out. But we there is a there's a green space and greenways master plan that does have this corridor on there. And I guess, like I said, it's part of the exchange that they would connect all the way to Chihuahua Park. And so it's not something where he's just saying the easements are there. I guess we've had the easement layer. I could show it to you all. Just one of the questions is right when you get on the north side of Sand Hill across from this development, that part of the creek, so we have the east side of that side of the creek, that part's incredibly steep. It's like 20 feet of fall kind of deal. On the other side of the creek, which they don't control, would be more ideal. But outside of that, the rest of that does go all the way up and does connect to Chihuahua and is viable. It's just one of the things that we've been looking at. How do we execute it at some point? So
Good, that's good new news. Thank you. I have a couple for staff, so I'll just wait.
Anything else for applicant?
Yeah, I do. You were talking about a destination in this event center.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what
What that looks like?
what does this look like? And then I've got a question about the amphitheater.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So we've met with a couple different people who specifically work in the hospitality area for Auburn University and asked what is the need and what is sustainable in the city of Auburn. Where are they booked out forever? And Red Barn is what came up. And what came to me was, if you build another Red Barn, it will be used. And so that is what we've modeled. The dimensions on that event space are exactly the same as Red Barn, and that's what we're looking at doing. And so think corporate meetings, dinners, those kind of thing. It's not necessarily 500-person wedding. It's not going to be that size. So I think I think we can all refer to Red Barn and kind of know what I'm talking about as far as that size goes.
Okay, so we're still gonna have people driving in through the neighborhood.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, now tell me about the amphitheater.
The amphitheater is just going to be a small outdoor stage and some picnic tables, essentially for some live music.
Okay.
Because we have
But
restaurant.
not 1,000.
Absolutely not. No, and even
What?
if I can go through.
100, yeah,
Let me show you.
please do.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a zoom in of the commercial on here. Let me find it. So yeah, you can see those little dark black squares.
Right.
Those are picnic tables for
Okay.
reference. So that's the size of this that we're talking about. And again, really, the idea is leave a lot of this area wooded so that you actually feel like you're going out to be in nature while you can still have coffee and ice cream and those kind of things and interact with the trail system. The goal is not clear every tree, make everything one level. All this will be stepped, and they'll be, really trying to create, like I said, a way to interact.
Okay.
Point.
How do you feel about, I'm sorry, how do you feel about parking, and how do we collectively as the city feel about the parking requirements so that you are keeping people out from in front of these people's homes, potentially?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So generally the parking is in line with the city regs. There aren't a lot of specifics around amphitheaters, but what my argument to that would be is amphitheater will not be in use when office is in use. So we have a little bit of shared parking. I know Justice and I have talked a little bit about kind of really thinking logically through this of when will this parking be used. And so I think off the top of my head, it's in the letter, I believe, but I think it's 106 parking spaces being provided, and we feel that that's going to be adequate to support these uses at their intensity level. Like, for instance, the neighborhood grocery store is 10,000 square feet. That's much smaller than like a Walmart, obviously. I think
Yeah.
scale is really hard to grasp here, maybe. And so that's more of a general store size.
So a couple questions that I have. So
Yes, sir.
the grocer, service restaurant, et cetera, that's phase 3 of your development, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of timing are you looking at, number one, for that? And number two is, do you already have tenants lined up?
It's
for those
very
places.
difficult to line tenants up prior to zoning being established,
Understand.
especially. It's very early on. We've talked with people, and there's general interest, I can tell you that much. But as
Okay.
far as signed leases and those kind of things, that's a little bit further down the road. And, that's a risk that our development group is taking on. So I would say we're highly incentivized to make sure that happens. And so we have not had that put in place yet. We also need some rooftops in the neighborhood before
Sure.
doing that, and that's why we've listed it in phase 3 in our PDD letter.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
but no specific timing at this point in time?
Not yet, no, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Have you given any thought to making an entrance that's closer to this part with the event space and all of that, so that people aren't having to drive through the neighborhood?
We have, so that's a great question. We would like to do that. The issue with that is we kind of have a choice here. We either have to align with Mill Creek and make that a clean transition point to where most of the traffic is going to be coming. We anticipate most of the traffic is coming into the development, or the issue is if we start shifting far enough away from Mill Creek where it's adequate distance between those intersections, we start running into the bridge at Chihuahua Creek. And so that's why we kind of landed on this entrance at Mill Creek. Just felt like it was a better safety situation, and then avoiding, obviously, widening a bridge, which is a big undertaking, so.
That was also one of my questions. I see that there's 2 entrances. I know that that is a super specific location for traffic that is going fast.
For sure.
So aligning that, I do feel like is really our best option personally, but is that part of this that will go through, or later on from a condition, is to kind of beef that up as it relates to both traffic studies and just safety in general?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I think staff has kind of pointed out that there's been interest, or I guess some curiosity about requiring a third entrance just kind of on that far east side, and looking at that, and that would provide, I guess in a different rendering there was access to the trail, like a parking lot, kind of similar to that, but also would provide a more direct access to some of the commercial on this side. And so that'd be one of the things that we'd either work out in DRT, or I think the traffic studies largely been back. And so that was kind of talking about much more like the ingress and egress stuff, not necessarily the need for a third access or not. But that'd be something that we'd probably figure out in DRT. And if it became a sticking point, that's something that we'd require. So,
Okay.
What about Lee County?
I guess you can.
The
yeah.
coordination with Lee County?
Yes, we've been in contact with Lee County, and they're going to impose their requirements, which are completely separate from ours,
Right.
but that would be left and right turn lanes at the 2 access points. They will have to verify sight distances maintained and all of the things in accord with what they typically do.
So the additional entrance is not right in, right out only on that?
Those are
The
both
second.
full access.
Wow, okay.
I kind of worry about without that third entrance, I would be concerned with the viability of the commercial property. You know, if you're only taking people from the development and the people that walk in, I mean, not trying to say anything bad about that. I'd love to walk in, but I'm not,
And
having enough traffic to support that much commercial.
I actually kind of see the other side of that as people coming from the Mims Trail, Parkerson Mill area are going to go directly into the neighborhood at the light or whatever entry of that. They have a way to come in.
Yeah, and kind of one of the things that I mentioned on Monday. I'm not familiar. I don't know how many of you have probably remember Greenville before, like the Swamp Rabbit Trail, but it was
South Carolina.
yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. There's a town north of Greenville, Travelers Rest, that was a really sleepy town. Not much there besides churches and the people who've always lived there. And then a bike trail went through it, and then suddenly there were taco shops, bars, and apartments went up, and it was this massive economic development boon. But I think also it kind of engendered like this massive cultural change of it's just like, where are all these people coming from? And they were all coming from a trail, and they were like, but there's some highway that goes through here, and it was literally just because a bike trail went through it. So I don't want to speak and say that I think this would mirror that, but I do think that eventually the traffic and the people who would be hanging out and discovering this wouldn't all just be people driving by or people who lived in like neighborhoods like in proximity. Trails do just kind of end up working as a magnet to people if they're long enough.
Thanks, yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners?
So with respect to water, sewer, power, those kinds of agreements are in
Yeah,
place?
I guess if Chris, do you want to speak to the confidence of the agreement?
I can't speak directly for Lochapoka. They will have to meet city fire standard for any type of flow volume for fire protection. On the sewer side, we've got an agreement in principle. Scott's been working on the development agreement with the developer, but there is a cost sharing mechanism and a new lift station and all of that stuff that kind of goes along with it.
And that will be able to service all of this, including this commercial?
That's correct.
I've got a kind of I guess the staff question, but I don't see the right staff here. So 32 acres being dedicated to the city, I mean, can the city support that? I mean, that's
Man,
nice, but can you?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
I
that was
joke with
my
the Parks and Rec director that I try to give her land like every other month, and she just tells me no. So I think she's been a part of the conversations, just kind of about what it would look like for the trail, and so we've talked with Public Works and Parks and Rec just because they construct the trail, maintain the trail, all of that. The trail side, I don't think there's an issue with. I think there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to 32 acres is floodplain. There is some skepticism about that, but I guess there would be be a passive park. And I think the biggest thing that she had questions about was, let's say we take it, the trailhead, greenway, all that stuff. There's a lot of floodway on the site, I think, especially on the western side. And so then floodway, I guess for everybody in the audience, the floodplain, you can build things, minimal disturbance kind of stuff. You cannot build things in the floodway. And so from a gazebo and then just kind of like what all could be done there were kind of her biggest questions. I will say, I think there is a lot of apprehension about taking on floodplain, just kind of take it on. But those are things where that floodplain is an island. And I guess like I'm struggling, but it's like the 30-something acres that was up on North College. That was a part of a development. Ashton Lakes, I think so. No. It's south of that. But that was another one where that one's not a part of a trail. That one was an island of just floodplain. Didn't really make any sense for the city to. So this would be different, and there's a greenway that would run through it. But I do want to stress on their side there is apprehension, and I don't know if they would feel differently about it if they were with the trail going through it. But they have been a part of the conversations. They would like to know kind of what would happen, and that is why they kind of push for the parking. But then, like I said, their biggest thing is just figuring out what they can and can't build from a gazebo standpoint, benches, trail maintenance, and all of that, just kind of and staying out of the floodway. So, short answer, they've been a part of the conversation. They're aware. It's something they're
Decision.
Yeah, no decision. They're on board of having a trail that would connect to Chihuahua. I think for the larger vision is what they're kind of in support of.
So that kind of makes me another question. We just approved in the city council just approved a proviso that allows rural commercial, and the whole thing that was behind that discussion and why, it made sense to us was that it would be built in accessible, like on arterials at crossroads, places that would, have traffic be able to support and drive through and all that. And then you contrast it with what we've got going here with this proposal. I got to say first, I like it. My issue is I don't know if I like it where we're doing it. It's, and part of that is city. I guess it's kind of a city question too, a staff question. We have a lot of infrastructure needs in this city, okay? And so we're prioritizing where do we put those resources to get the best for the citizens. This is out there, and it's gonna cost a lot of resources, and is this the best decision to make now? For this location, where instead if we put the resources somewhere else, we'll get a greater good because it'll affect more people. We don't have unlimited resources in our city. So that's where that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, so I think that was a layered, multifaceted comment. So I think from a commercial standpoint, and I think kind of the arterials, the current configuration that is shown. Let's say he was just to subdivide this, kind of create these roads, and the commercial wouldn't be viable. They wouldn't be able to apply for that. This is already a state rule because these were not going to be collectors or arterials, and I like it. So it would kind of force the road frontage, but I guess kind of like Hayes mentioned, this is much more destination. He's not really that. He's kind of playing a different game, doing different calculus on this one. So the only means that he would be able to achieve it would be to ask for the rezoning, ask for the PDD associated with it, kind of in the face of the future land use plan, in the face of just kind of the infrastructure needs. I guess.
Well, so that's another thing. The land use plan.
Yeah, and I guess kind of
does at this point, the way we've just updated it, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I guess so.
Fit.
Yeah, and so he touched on that as well. That the infrastructure, I guess, the real cutoff on utilities is east of Chihuahua Creek, and I guess is on the west side of it. And so I guess I don't really want to speak to that, but as far as the allocation of resources, infrastructure upgrades, that is one of the things in the city of Auburn. We do not subsidize people's infrastructure upgrades for development. developers will tell you that they built the roads, that if there are any upgrades that are required that are signified needed in a traffic study, they have to do them to move forward. It's not something that the city will participate in. There's cost sharing and other things where it might be a benefit to the city to take something offline and to build something bigger to take care of an entire sewer shed. That is different. But from a road standpoint, if the road needs to go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, that is something that you pay for. If the road needs, your development needs turn lanes, that is something that you pay for. That's not something that we're never going to subsidize the private development, and that's not what the development agreements do. So,
So, I've got a question. That leads me to this question about roads, streets inside this thing. Now, the subdivision itself, the houses, the townhomes have alleys, so that's private.
yeah, and so that's been a prominent discussion that we've kind of had with Hayes. So initially, from a design standpoint, he wanted to move this through from a PUD side to take advantage of unlimited exchanges, so they could subdivide off alleys. Even conceptually, like I said, I don't know if I've mentioned this to y'all, but I have floated this idea internally to staff about how they felt about subdividing off alleys. It's a very lukewarm response. There was not a lot of excitement about it. So even from a design standpoint, I don't know if the execution would have been there on staff side to ever find support for that. And so on the question about if the roads would be public or if the question if the roads would be private, some of the townhomes, I mean, they might shrink from the right-of-way necessary side, but I mean, I think they would probably still, and they wouldn't be alleys, I guess is what I'm communicating. They wouldn't be alleys. And so some of them, as far as fronting off of things and taking rear access, we've done that in other places, but it wouldn't be raw just subdividing off of alleys. That's not something that has been communicated to me that we're comfortable with as a staff yet.
Well, so what's the, you had a good explanation for, I understand the fact that, the city doesn't subsidize developers. So what sort of, to me, I still believe this is a stretch this far out. What kind of impact is that having to the city?
I think the biggest thing would be if you want to go to the prox map and within the other one.
Well, there's already kids.
Yeah. So that massive chunk that's not in the city, that would connect a lot of that stretch of Sand Hill Road, and that might increase one of the roads that the county tries to give us when this county settles up at the end of the year. But I mean, there's a ways past that now with several of the annexations. I mean, there's not big. I guess there are bigger neighborhoods coming further down the road to the east of this, and there are existing developments that are east of this as well. So I mean, but Sand Hill Road, I think for a lot, I mean, it looks really long on a map. It feels even longer when you're out there. I think it's about 6 miles in its entirety. But it would put this western portion of Sand Hill Road probably predominantly in our ownership at some point in time in the near future. And then I guess the adding of, I mean, if you can go to the next slide, yeah. So the call out, just kind of like the 195 dwelling units essentially is kind of what they're asking for from the townhome units to the single family houses. I guess they would have to run more buses down there, but like I said, all of this would be internal. It's not like they'd be getting picked up on Sand Hill Road.
Right. And there's already kids out there across the street.
Yeah, and further down, yeah, and to the east of Sand Hill too.
So it sounds like the big hit is the county saying it's yours. Sand Hill Road is yours.
Yeah, I guess what's the portion of Sand Hill that's ours now?
Our portion currently stops at the western side of this property at that bridge.
Yeah.
So the bridge is
Out
ours?
here.
It is not. If we take over this section, we would also get that bridge, but we would not get the bridge at the eastern side.
The bridge over to.
And then
Any
what
concerns
that
about the
tip?
bridge?
Haven't looked at it. So that's not something we've inspected at this point.
And when you say you'll get it, how much of that? Just to the end of this property or all the way down Sand Hill Road till the end of it?
So our agreement, our intergovernmental agreement and also state law, when both sides of the road are annexed into the city continuously, then we take over that portion. So at this point, it might go, I think if I remember correctly, it would stop at this property.
Yeah, it's pretty sawtooth down on Sand Hill Road about what's in, what's out.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone?
I guess I did just want to, since I didn't kind of give an overview, but I guess the 195 units, there's I think 73 townhomes. But so there's the townhomes, and then there's about 31,000 square feet of commercial. Like I said, so the existing future land use is rural. What they're asking for is to rezone to LDD, I guess on this one, and then they'll rezone to the PDD, which would then allow for the viability of commercial and the mixed use. And then there are the conditional uses that are associated with it. And so the conditional uses are just kind of what they've outlined of the neighborhood grocery store, event space. They have a church listed as well. I think there's also a brief mention of a senior living facility in their plan as well that we'd have to talk about. And so there is some nuances to the conditional uses. We can talk about it more if you guys, if y'all want to move forward with it on the conditional use portion of this. But I just want to outline what LDD is. And so the performance of it, conventional is, I think, 2 dwelling units an acre, and then the performance is 5 dwelling units an acre. It's slightly less dense than DDH, which I know is what people oftentimes come in with, and that's why they're asking for that so they can do the neighborhood shopping center. And so normally that would allow them up to, I think it's 150,000 square feet or 100,000 square feet of commercial, but they're only doing the 31,000 square feet. Like I said, this is not trying to capitalize on traffic. This is trying to capitalize on a place, being in proximity to a natural resource and destination theme like commercial, just kind of in this location.
Yeah. The question that I struggle with is, given the proposed density of LDD, what is compelling about, recommending to city council that this go forward versus, what we just approved, which was, rural, density.
Yeah, and I guess this wasn't contemplated in the future land use plan. And so in the future land use plan, like I said, there's a lot of things that we looked at kind of corrections. There are places where there are big intersection changes where infrastructure was suddenly possible in different places. This wasn't contemplated in that. I think the position, like I said, Hayes has just kind of been on the fringes, kind of waiting on the PUD. But I guess from a density standpoint with this, I think it's right under 3, and like I said, I mean they can achieve 5 in theory, but just kind of with the floodplain, and then just like you wouldn't be able to achieve that. And I think that's the thing about the max density. Oftentimes, what you may be aiming for cannot be achieved if you max something out from a density standpoint. So it's just the commercial that they're looking at here, and the residential just kind of comes in lesser. And so I think from a utility side and just kind of everything around it to say on, all of this is just possible. I think the engineers are always like, well, I mean, we can always find out a solution. It's just kind of y'all's decision if it's something that makes sense, if it's something that y'all think the city is ready for from an infrastructure standpoint. And like I said, staff can always engineer a solution. It's just up to y'all to determine if it's something that y'all think we're ready for.
Can you roll back to the Prox map? Yeah, thanks. So that's all
All of
LDD up there.
Mims and on both sides of the road.
So here's, what's really, this is really a tough nut to crack for me. We're walking into, as we go through the next couple items here, we're gonna get one at the end there that's gonna talk about a PDD, and it's gonna basically fly in the face of our current land use plan. So, to me, that's a major impact. We have a plan, we have that plan for a purpose, and it doesn't support this project here. I'm not sure if I have a good answer to that, but that's a concern of mine.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of us asked for with the update was to figure out if we had places like this where there was infrastructure available and the possibility that there could be development there.
Agree.
And this one would just, by whatever means,
Didn't get it.
didn't show up.
Hey, there were means, though, and I'd like to know that. There was a reason why
Yes.
that decision was made.
What was the reason for that decision?
So why this was omitted?
Yeah.
So the future land use plan, I guess by the time it was presented to y'all, and I guess by the time that like this project came forward, the future land use plan was kind of already ready to go to council. I think we'd already had several I want to say we already had several work sessions on it where we talked about it, where it was virtually done. And I think this came in towards the end of that process. And I think I did put it on of like, hey, I think we should talk about this. And it was, this is new. We have not talked about this. Everything else people have been prepped on. People are contemplating that. This would be a deviation for kind of where we were for an expansion to consider. If there's to be a consideration on this, then they can ask for a rezoning, and that's fine. I mean, that's how several others are handled. It's not that it shouldn't be contemplated. It just is going to just be contemplated in a different form, such as this one. So that was kind of the position. Like I said, it kind of came in at the very end of it, at the tail end of it. And then I think also on the other side of this is just kind of the era that we're in Auburn. Development is creeping out to places that we never thought there would be development. Like, now there are neighborhoods on Sand Hill Road, and Sand Hill Road is a good 30 minutes from town, just kind of depending on, and there isn't a good direction to go. It's really long, and you can't get through the middle of it. Same thing with Society Hill and Moore's Mill. Same thing with up on Farmville. That was just one of the things of when Donahue Ridge was originally out there by itself. It was green all the way in between from Camden Ridge to Shug, and then now, just kind of the near future, there's not going to be much green in between there anymore. So I think that's just kind of the area. So the answer to that is that this kind of came in on the tail end of the considerations when there was already a lot of technical analysis of the other sites that were put forward, or the other places where the optimal boundary was. But from the uses that should have been upgraded, there was already a lot of technical analysis, and that was largely done when this project came forward. And the position was that the project needed to just kind of ask for it on its own in a singular request such as this.
I gotta believe that had, go ahead.
Because if I could add just to touch on that, Justice, I mean, in some of the places we've looked at, where there's infrastructure in place and it's part of an existing sewer shed where you could extend the gravity sewer and drain it, those made sense to think about, where we had future road networks planned, anticipated, those areas made sense to anticipate, some potential future developments where essentially you're kind of infilling areas. This looked more like an extension of an area and reaching out because you're having to build a new lift station, even though it's adjacent to some other things. And then it's, we're also a neighbor to this and have a sewage treatment plant across the street. And, that we don't get a lot of odor complaints until people move down near that. So that's just typical for things. But yeah.
After listening to the discussion here tonight and having a good explanation by the representative, I got to believe that had this come in a little bit different timing, it would have been included. Yeah. Anyway, just a comment.
Okay, so.
I echo that point.
Okay, so currently there are three agenda items associated with this. The first one is from rural to LDD. We've done the whole presentation for all three, but there are public hearings for each. So if we're ready, commissioners, I'd like to move forward with a motion on agenda item.
Motion to approve case RZ 2025-012.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Rural to LDD. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you. The next agenda item is number 2, Hickory Creek. Would you like to say?
Yeah, so it's the PDD.
Yes.
Yeah, so same thing, just kind of the 195 dwelling units. It's on roughly, I guess 68.5 acres. The intersection of Mill Creek and Sand Hill Road. Go on the next one. So I'll wait till the conditional uses. I just kind of talk about it, but the PDD is just kind of what would make would lock them in at this number. The master development plan, like you guys can see, that's still kind of open to comment and to subject to change. Just kind of what gets implemented from the traffic side and also the DRT part of thinking through if another entrance would be required. Then also parking spaces for the amenity associated with it for ease of access to not disturb the neighborhood.
Will you talk about the positives of an overlay PDD for this?
Yeah, so if you want to go to the layout. So on a similar case not a similar case, but on a case where there was a PDD, PDDs lock in the uses. So and if anything were to come back, there would either be an amendment or there'd have to be a conditional use underneath that for uses that were not established at this point. So the beauty of the PDDs is that it provides certainty of what can be developed. It's not like Hayes can come back and say, hey, well, I'd like to just do a massive 200 unit MUD. He wouldn't be able to do that. That'd be a major amendment that he'd have to get. So this will lock him into substantially this same master development plan, and also from a unit count. The unit count is locked in. So people can change units and go from MUDs or townhomes to single family. You cannot reduce your single family number to increase your number of non-single family homes. And so if they did want to do that, they would need a significant amendment to do that. So the beauty of PDDs is that, like I said, it's a contract with the city pretty much of what can be developed. It assures us of what's going to be developed. It also gives the developer assurances of what they can build and move forward. And that way they can establish kind of their phasing, tenants, et cetera, and move forward with that.
Perfect, thank you. This does require a public hearing. We'll open this now if you would like to speak to the PDD for Hickory Creek. You can do it after.
Hi, my name is Dustin Norris. Address is 1600 Sand Hill Road. I'm going to try not to ramble, but want to touch on a couple points. Mr. Phil had brought up that, or from what I interpreted, just the future land use, the proposed development just didn't align. There are several proposed developments, so I actually own right across the street. I'm purchasing a lot from Chihuahua Ridge subdivision, which is currently being constructed. The lots were required 3-acre minimums. Again, to me, the proposed development just doesn't align with some of that. And as far as the infrastructure getting to it, I understand that a lot of that is paid for on the private side. I may be considered biased, considering I'm do plan on building a property across the street, but Auburn middle school, high school grad, been here basically my whole life. We do have to understand the impacts that go into developing something of this nature. And then I'll tell you, I've been monitoring the property that I plan on building my home on right across the street. Where the creek bends, just east of the southernmost dwellings that you see on the plat there. The piece of property I plan on building on has about probably a 500-foot 100-year flood. About a month and a half after I purchased the property, I had about 4 foot of water, about 450 feet up the property. I'll just, again, no civil engineer. I'm a general contractor, but no civil engineer by any means. I'll just say I would have concerns about some of those properties flooding in general. And yes, we do see, I think at the last hearing, several of the Sand Hill residents spoke on just the traffic coming across the bridge and just the natural way that it just necks down in that general area. And Mr. Justice spoke on, or someone spoke on the I think somebody said trespasser, or we see fishermen park on the bridge or alongside the bridge every day, being down at my property against the creek. Yeah, and again, those aren't trespassers by any means. Just walking the creek, inside the creek. I think the greenway is a positive in a lot of ways. connecting Chewacla State Park, but it is going to invite a whole different, I think, number of people to the area. I think as the bridge is positioned and the floodplain, I think the bridge itself flooded in December of '24, or maybe it was December 23. But it does flood every year, every other year, makes it impassable. It only going to create that much more congestion in the area, especially with the traffic count this proposed development is inviting. And again, I guess generally speaking, based on the last public hearing with several of the other Sandhill residents, we just think that it's unlike anything else that's been out there to date, and again with the future land use idea and plan just doesn't really align. So, thank you.
Please
Didn't
sign
mean to
in.
ramble, sorry.
That's okay. Anyone else like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing no one, we'll close this public hearing. To that, since we have approved the LDD, in my opinion, putting the PDD in place is a benefit to this project that keeps it not just from going awry.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think if my position would be if you're gonna support the rezoning, you should support the PDD to lock the numbers in, just because the math on it is about, from a performance development, like I said, you can't realize it, but it's about 60. It's about 340. So
Right,
Yeah,
right. You just don't want to just let that
yeah, you don't want to let
be
that.
out there about that. Commissioners? Motions, questions, comments?
So there's a question that I have. So there were a couple of institutional uses that staff recommended that not be included. Can you
Wait,
speak?
are we on conditional use or are we on?
No,
PDD?
I thought I'm
we're
looking
on
at the PDD.
but
Oh,
it's in there.
sorry.
too.
Yeah, it's in the PDD.
That's the thing, it should be
Yeah.
in the next one.
Okay.
Should we wait for that one?
It's up to
'Cause
you.
it's-
You can go ahead and ask your
it's-
question.
Yeah, so my question was,
Third.
yeah. So okay, so would you guys like to talk about the uses now?
Well, I mean, they're on this one.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
in the PDD, so.
Okay, so all right, so okay, so there's the neighborhood shopping center designation that allows a host of uses underneath it. I think the recommendation in the staff report is to remove that and then go back and add the event space and the neighborhood grocer. But there's also concerns. There's development standards of the senior living facility that would not be met because this would not be on arterial. And also the neighborhood shopping center, also the development standards for that also aren't met. So those are things that y'all can carve those caveats out, go back and add them in. But it was just one of the things, like, staff want to make you aware of the development standards associated with each of these uses. And so you guys can, if you guys wanted to, and I guess the other thing, if you just wanted to leave them in, the option with that is that there would be an automatic waiver associated with these that you guys would then have to, I guess you guys want to make it a condition that, he'd have to come back and get a waiver for these to when he actually came time to fill it, he would have to. So I mean, there's several options that you can kind of move forward with. So you can either list take out the host of uses from the neighborhood shopping center because it doesn't meet the special development standards. Same thing for the senior living facility. Or if you want to move forward with them, they're just going to they would require the waiver associated with them. Did I have that right, Amber?
Yes, well, it's not just the nursing home, it's for all of the institutional uses.
Yeah, there we go.
And the main development standard is
Can you speak into the mic?
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
The main special development standard is that the institutional uses are to front on an arterial or collector, which is not possible. and the neighborhood shopping center has to front an arterial or arterial and collector. And these uses can be within a PDD without the neighborhood shopping center.
So if we take them off the PDD,
Put 'em under
but,
the
and put them under conditional use? Or just if they had a school interested, they just need to come before us?
Yeah, so,
far away.
right.
Okay.
Take them on?
Take institutional and neighborhood shopping center.
Okay.
Okay, so then I guess you guys, so whatever motion you make, if you guys are going to motion in the affirmative, then it would be a motion removing the institutional uses and the neighborhood shopping center.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop them from coming back and asking for those in the future. just so
Correct.
that we're- Okay, great.
But shouldn't we remove those first before we?
Got to do it in the motion, right?
Yeah, you do the motion.
You,
Okay.
you need to move to get the case to the vote first. And then
Okay.
you would need to amend the motion to remove those.
I move to approve RZ 2025-16.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for a PDD overlay. All those in favor?
I think we
We
need to
got to
amend it.
amend.
We need to amend.
Yeah, so you need an amendment, a motion to amend.
Case RZ 2025-016,
What way?
to remove the institutional uses and neighborhood shopping center use.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on an amendment to the PDD overlay, removing neighborhood shopping centers and institutional uses. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, perfect. Now, to move to the original motion to approve the PDD overlay for Hickory Creek. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, you have that. Okay. Thank you. And moving on to the third agenda item, dealing with Hickory Creek, we have conditional use requests.
All right, so it's kind of what we've covered. So it's the institutional uses, the office use, commercial and entertainment uses, and the commercial recreational use and the neighborhood shopping center use. And so you guys just motioned to remove all the institutional uses and take out the neighborhood shopping center use. And then, like I said, yes, they can come back and ask for this under conditional use, and they would have to ask for it with a waiver associated with it.
And also, you may want to add back in the event center and grocery store.
Right, because
that
that
would
was
have been
the-
under the
Neighborhood shopping center.
Grocery store, neighborhood store, what's the
We would,
technical word?
for us, it's grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's still bound by the square footage of commercial, so they can't use they could use it all up, but they wouldn't do that. Use up all the square footage associated with it for one store.
Okay. Conditional uses do require a public hearing, so I'd like to open that now at this time for conditional use approval for Hickory Creek. If anyone would like to come forward and speak to this. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. We will need to move to approve and then amend the motion. Commissioners?
Move to approve case CU 2025-046.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Move to amend case CU 2025-046 to remove institutional uses and neighborhood shopping center and add in event center and grocery store.
I have a motion and a second on an amended motion to remove institutional uses, remove neighborhood shopping center, add event center, and add grocery store. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now to the original motion to approve Hickory Creek conditional use. Motion.
Is this with comments?
Always.
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 That's what I thought.
Motion's been made.
A motion's been made. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. That is all we have under old business.
Consent agenda.
Now, I would like to move to the consent agenda, packet minutes and regular meeting minutes, as well as final plat for Vintage East.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't you need to?
Right.
Yeah.
Did,
There we go.
do we need to remove?
Technically, you need to remove that one
Right,
off the
yeah.
consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need a motion to remove the
Yeah.
final plat for Vintage East from consent agenda.
Sorry. Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I went too fast.
I need a motion to remove.
So we got the consent agenda, motion to remove the, case FP 2025-20.
Unless you just recuse from all of consent agenda items.
Yeah. No.
This one off.
No. So pull Vintage East off the consent agenda, vote on the consent agenda, then vote on Vintage East, and then we'll go get
So I need a motion.
Commissioner Lovern.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I need a
No.
motion to
The motion to
remove
remove.
Vintage East.
I move to remove case FP 2025-021 from the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now, consent agenda, now
No, you need
only,
to consider that one first and then go back to
Then go
consent
back to
agenda.
consent, and we can invite her back.
All right.
Sorry.
the final plat for the Vintage East development. This does not require a public hearing. All those in favor? We need to,
I guess yeah, we can talk about it if you guys like.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, that's John.
Well, that old business really took care of it.
Yeah.
We're ready to get it.
Everyone's from, yeah.
Whatever. There's not much preparation that went into this besides my staff report that y'all have. This presentation, that is. This is a final plat approval request for a 31-lot performance residential subdivision. It is located just north of EUD and west of Gatewood, just south of the Auburn Flats Apartments, and just east of the existing Vintage development. Like I said, it's 31 total lots, with 26 of those being townhomes, and 5 of those being open space common area lots. The largest open space lot being this one over here to the east. I can answer any questions y'all may have, but.
So we went from 30 lots in the preliminary plat that we approved in July to 31 now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the road situation got resolved over time with
Okay.
how they were subdividing off
Yeah.
the private access drive.
Yeah, that's a great That's a great catch. So if they would have added, let's say they would have added a residential lot, that would have been the issue, and then we would have to see a new one. But with this just being the open space and the road, essentially, just kind of how you guys remember from the private drives, this is how we do them. That they carve them up. We prefer that they don't be on that the road is not on its own lot. That is just a part of everything else, and then there's an access easement going through it.
And we do have the parking spaces for the townhomes on the lot, on the
Yes.
townhome lots.
Yes, they'll be required to.
Okay.
And, we'll look at that one more time in DRT and
In DRT.
through the building plans that get submitted, so that'll be guaranteed.
Okay, perfect.
final plat request. It does not require a public hearing. Commissioners, if you would like to make a motion.
Move to approve FP 2025-021.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do I need to get-
We still have to approve the rest of the
Yeah.
consent agenda.
We're gonna let Ms. Lovin back.
Yes.
You didn't want to?
Back so we can do the consent.
Consent agenda at this moment now just consists of the packet meeting minutes and regular meeting minutes of the August Planning Commission. Does not require a public hearing.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. New business.
Man,
Okay.
a lot of talking tonight for me. Okay, Centercom. So this is, the action request is a recommendation to City Council for conditional use approval for commercial and entertainment use. All others, gun customizer type 1 FFL use. I said I have not had a lot of dealings with FFL requests in my first, I think, 18 months or so. And then over recent months, I've gotten a slew of them to locate all over the city for different purposes. People, representatives for really big businesses, people going into business for themselves. This is a similar situation. People who were doing prospective site locations that never made it to you all. So the big distinction here is the type 1 FFL use. Type 1 is just would allow them to transfer guns. So pretty much kind of like we talked about, if you order a gun online, you cannot have it Amazoned or Prime delivered to your house. You cannot do that. What you can do is identify someone who has a federal firearms license, that the gun gets shipped to them, and then you go to them and you pick up your gun. They transfer your gun to you. That is one of the things that this would be possible for. So I guess just kind of how FFLs work. I guess the applicants here, he can talk about it in a little more detail. But what happens on my end is I get a call from the ATF. They say, hey, I got an application for a federal firearms license. Does the zoning allow for this person to do that? And so type 1 is critical here because there's type 7 that allows gun manufacturing. And as far as the law is concerned, the gun part of the gun is the lower. If you are assembling the lower, it is gun manufacturing. Gun manufacturing kicks this to a place where it has to locate in industrial. It cannot locate in CDD. It cannot locate in the commercial support areas. It must locate in anywhere where industrial is, which would then be a conditional use, et cetera. So talking with the applicant, talking with the ATF, downgrading this to a type 1 FFL, that is what would be appropriate for this location at 1937 Watley Road. This is a space, if you want to go to the Prox map, I don't know how, it's kind of just a quasi-industrial area over there, just kind of right behind the mall. There's all sorts of uses over there. I mean, we've approved car wash places. There's automotive tinting. There's also barbershops. I mean, there's just a whole host of things over there. So it really kind of fits in, just kind of from a gun customization standpoint. But like I said, what triggers this is the ATF calls me, asks if the zoning is allowed, and then we kind of work through if a conditional use is allowed or if they can or can't do it at all kind of deal. But then also, I guess, the all other uses. So if it is not explicitly listed in the use table, it is, or I guess then it's not allowed or it gets kicked to all other uses. So when we do have something that is listed, right, and it doesn't have a P or C by it, then it's not allowed at all. So like when you guys look at NC, the only thing that has anything in it is detached single family housing. All the other ones are not considered. They're not conditional. They're not all other uses. This isn't contemplated at all from a use standpoint. And so those uses that are not listed, those get kicked to all other uses. And so the only reason that gun manufacturing isn't allowed just because explicitly it must go in the industrial area. So that's the only thing. It is a type 1 federal firearms license, gun customization. The applicant is here to speak on behalf of that and kind of answer any questions that you guys may have.
Doesn't a type 1 federal firearms license also allow you to sell guns?
Yes. Yeah.
This does require a public hearing. If the applicant would like to speak during the public hearing, please come forward. I'll open that now.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Austin Bridges. Started talking with Justice earlier this year. It's not a new business. I had been in business probably 3 years now. I was in Opelika in an industrial district where I carried a Type 7 FFL. And then after discussing and all that, I had to renew it, I believe it's in April. And I'd already kind of gone into the change of business location thing to Auburn and trying to find locations and stuff like that. I let my license lapse because we were going to hopefully get this squared away. And this kind of ran into the Type 1 versus Type 7 stuff. So if y'all have any questions.
So was your original intent to?
This is public hearing. We're going to have to call him back after the public hearing is closed.
Sorry. But yeah, so my original intentions, I built, customized, ordered stuff online. It was pretty small scale. I don't keep inventory on hand. I don't have really a retail spot. Nobody ever shows up. Obviously with the license and everything, my address is online. So if you order a firearm online, I pop up as an FFL. You can choose it. I get contacted. I get in contact with you when your firearm shows up. You come pick it up, run all the background checks and all that, and then you take it home like every other gun store. But I do a lot of duck hunting down South Louisiana. I got into the customizing side, doing Cerakote and other paints like that to customize some stuff. That's what I've kind of got into lately. But going back to what Justin was saying, ATF considers the lower piece of the pistol, AR, anything, style, gun, that is what they care about. That's where it's serialized. That's what they really care about. So that's what is needed for when transferring stuff. That's what they care about. So under the ATF's law, if I don't know if y'all are very custom firearms or y'all's background in that, but anything under, say specifically for an AR, anything below 16-inch barrel is considered a pistol. So you have to have, there's different age groups for that can buy and purchase it. Your license, you have to be in the state to purchase the pistol that your license is. It's different than long gun. Shotguns and stuff above 16 inches, you don't have to have the same state ID that you purchased it in. You could be 18, you don't have to be 21, stuff like that. Kind of rambling now. But if you change a firearm from a rifle to a pistol, that is considered manufacturing. And it goes into the customization side of stuff. So if I buy all these different parts and put them together and put my company name and logo and serialize it myself, that's manufacturing. I don't have big CNC machines milling out lowers and all that stuff. It's just assembling. But going back to, that wasn't a huge part of my business. It's just some people like different things. But after speaking with Justice, instead of that being a Type 7 to a Type 1, we can redo some of my business models and just match what is needed to continue for that. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please sign in when you can. Would anyone else like to speak at the public hearing on CenterCom? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have questions for the applicant or staff?
I'll just move to approve CU 2025-027 CenterCom.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. So this item is a conditional use request for an industrial use, an automotive manufacturing facility in the industrial zoning district. Property is located at 760 West Veterans Boulevard in the Auburn Technology Park North. Previously, the property did come to the Planning Commission in 2004 to get approval for up to 90,000 square feet, conditional use approval for up to 90,000 square feet. This 24,000 square feet expansion is over that 90,000 square feet, which is why conditional use approval is required. I can answer any questions if you have them about this item.
Was there the idea of the expansion to begin with? Like, did they think that that would happen?
I believe so.
So the lot, the setbacks, all the space is there then.
And all of that will be addressed at DRT.
Okay. Any other questions for, before we open the public hearing? Thank you. This does require a public hearing if anyone would like to speak on conditional use approval for an expansion of an industrial use. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Move to approve CU 2025-047.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Excited about the expanding businesses, that's positive.
All right, so our last item tonight is, I was already on it. So this is a recommendation for conditional use approval of a performance residential use. Specifically, we're looking at a 8-unit, multiple unit development. The location of this proposed site is 406 North Donahue Drive, kind of just north of the Auburn Recycling Center, kind of in that area. And it is located in the Corridor Redevelopment District West. So kind of taking just an overview of the proximate, you can kind of see that the whole surrounding area on all sides is Corridor Redevelopment District West. Kind of just the surrounding makeup uses of those areas is single family and multifamily residential. So that's kind of what you have going on, as well as the recycling plant. This just kind of gives you an overview of a future land use map for the city of Auburn. As you can see, we have a future land use of mixed use too, kind of just wanting more high use development, commercial types, as deemed necessary by the 2018 plan as well. So this is currently looking at a site plan of the proposed development. The current lot has been demoed back in late 2024, so it is currently vacant. You can see here that there is 2 different buildings, one right here housing 6 units, and then a separate one right here housing 2 units. The proposed parking for this development is 43 spaces. That was just the measurement given based on the calculations of beds, which is 32. And then we do have a elevation rendering. This is looking at the east view. So this is not the view from fronting North Donahue if you're going north. This is from the parking lot. So if you were to go into the units themselves, this is the facade. And I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
So this is a conditional use request, but there seems to be a significant number of comments.
Right, and we have those comments for the DRT process,
Okay.
kind of just later down that line. This is strictly looking at conditional use approval just of the multiple unit development. We'll can address some of the specifics in DRT. So I did include those.
So MUD is conditional in CRDW? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions for anybody before we open a public hearing?
Just to be clear, this is residential use only, correct? There's no commercial?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and so I guess on the mixed use too. So it doesn't specify that all projects have to be mixed use. Mixed use means horizontal and vertical. So there can be residential, and then on another lot, commercial, or they can be combined into the same development. Okay. I guess kind of on some of this was very had a lot of forethought into it, and I guess just kind of right now. Commercial really hasn't expanded that far up. Donahue, just kind of in that section, it's still like primarily residential.
Okay.
Okay, conditional use does require a public hearing. I'd like to go ahead and open that now, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this agenda item.
Evening. Lee Tharp, Cadre Engineering, representing the applicant. Stuck it out this long, I just wanted to be able to sign in on the book.
There you go.
One thing I wanted to talk about real quick was, I know you mentioned this was the elevation facing the parking lot. I think we've got some issues there from the slope that's shown up against the building. This is what we're kind of planning on it looking, facing Donahue on that 6-unit piece. So gonna screen the parking lot with the building as much as possible from the street, which is gonna block the majority of any of the pavement. Trying to clean that look up there, especially since it's gonna be facing the new, Boykin Center. So pretty excited about the nice big sidewalk that's going out front too, so we think it's gonna address the street really nice, but just here to answer any other questions y'all might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, public hearing? We'll close that now. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve KCU 2025-048.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any comments from our leader?
Man, exciting time to be in Auburn. I think I guess to the gentleman who spoke earlier at the top of the meeting, just kind of in citizens communication, he also spoke at the council meeting a couple weeks ago. What he is talking about is a development that is north of Pear Tree Road, a significant development. I think in the council meeting, about 750 acres, possibility of 750 lots, way out north of Pear Tree. So we'll once we
Planning jurisdiction.
yeah. And so I guess on a map it is firmly outside of the optimal boundary, has no means to annex whatsoever, no contiguity at all, but is within our planning jurisdiction. A lot of jurisdictional just kind of jeopardy there, just kind of working with the county. So we will get with you all, just kind of below quorum thresholds, means of 2 or 3, and kind of brief you all on this, just kind of everything that we know with it. But yeah, I guess just where they're at right now, I think I think what he was talking about tonight, that they're hosting a charrette out going on right now. But I guess we will brief you all in the coming weeks, just kind of about more that we know, more we find out.
What our purview would be with it.
Yes, and so I guess just kind of out in, let's say, like, they don't annex or anything, and they just want to move forward with developing. We do review plats in the planning jurisdiction that aren't in the city. Oftentimes, they do not come to you all because they're for 2 or 3, or there might be family subdivisions. I think the last one that came to you all was Hines Hall, way up on 188. And that was for an 8 residential single family lots is what it was. Not to the tune of several hundred. So, and just so you guys know, plats are under the sole discretion of the planning commission. They do not go to council. There are no asks with them. It is just solely under y'all's discretion.
So we have to vote for them if they meet the requirements. So we gotta understand I don't know what kind of requirements we have.
Yeah. And so,
We're gonna meet it.
yeah, that is correct.
I question that, because it doesn't, if it comes before us, we have an option.
Right.
Yeah. So
We have an option.
But no discussion on this. This is just something that we're gonna
It
meet
comes
about.
before us just in case they ever want to be annexed into the city, that they meet our subdivision requirement.
Yep, and so I guess like I said, you all will be briefed on this. Once we know more, we will talk to you all about it. And so, like I said, we'll answer those questions, Phil, of just kind of what the purview is, all the questions, all the things we'll be looking at. So
Just so we have a map.
yeah.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?